Hello there. Today, One Cancer Place introduces you to a poignant story of a person, one of a series of personal stories that provides a peek into the authentic life of a cancer patient. We hope that you find the magic in these unique stories because each of these lives is lived to the hilt in service for others and in deep gratitude for survival. I'm Lindsay, and today I'm going to be speaking with MonaRae Cich about her life. Let's start at the beginning with when you found out your diagnosis and how you even came to go to the doctor.
Okay. It's a long story. I can tell you, it was 2015, May 22nd. My granddaughter came here. She had the flu, so I was watching her all day. That night at 6 o'clock, I started having an upset stomach. So I just thought I had the flu. I was sick for 2 days, and my husband kept begging me to go to emergency room. He says, I think you've got more than a flu case here. He says, you know what, honey, we go to the hospital, and you're going to just stay there for like 24 hours. They're going to give you some fluids. So we went to the hospital, and the doctors were starting to give me bad news. They said, Mrs. Cich, you have a swollen belly, which means you probably have free air. Okay, what is free air? I don't know what this stuff is. They said, well, your kidneys are shutting down. Your lungs are filling with fluids. Your white blood cells are off the charts. You have an infection going on. You probably have a burst. So for 5 hours, they gave me a bunch of tests. They called in the surgeon. The last thing I heard my surgeon say to my husband is, I hope I save her. I had 8 hours to live. I was slowly dying from what I thought was a case of the flu. After 7.5 hours, they came out and they told my husband that they had to take 13 inches of my colon out, and that he took a bunch of lymph nodes, and he thought he got everything out. Unfortunately, because it was Memorial Day weekend, they couldn't do any testing, and I found out on the following Wednesday as he walked in, and he told me that, I'm sorry to tell you, MonaRae, that you have cancer, stage 3. Now, not being very smart in the cancer world, I thought stage 3 was a good number. No, it wasn't. And then he started telling me what I also had, sepsis poisoning because of the burst. And again, I was told that I may not make it because I had the worst kind. I had strep in my blood system. So I understood then that's why all this stuff was coming out of me, this black stuff out of my nose. And I looked down, and he was starting to clean my open incision. Because of the poison, I couldn't be closed up. I was filleted open like a fish, and it didn't look so good. And I just kind of looked at that. It had 8 staples, and it was an 18-inch incision. And he just said, we have to go in here. We have to clean this all out. We're going to be doing it twice a day. And I went, okay. And nothing was really hitting me. Everything was just coming at me at one time. And I called my husband, and I said to him, honey, you got to come in the hospital right now. I've got some news. I hadn't cried. I just kind of focused in what was happening. He walked in, and we both shed tears then because I started thinking, I'm going to leave him because I wasn't getting such good news here at all. And so we went through all the process of understanding more about cancer and everything else. And he explained to me in detail the kind of cancer I had, which was colon, would never be caught by a colonoscopy. My tumor was on the outside. It had punctured a hole through the colon, and it ruptured all over the place. And I started thinking, well, okay, yes. So that's interesting, only to realize that my mother had the same type of cancer, except it was on the outside of her lung, and she passed away from that. I've only found 2 other people that I have found in the colon world that had a tumor on that side of their colon. So as my doctor said, MonaRae, you had a silent killer in your body. This probably was taking 20 years to grow on the outside of your colon.
Wow.
Yeah, no symptoms, no pain. So I had no reason to even think. I wasn't sick.
Wow.
So I met with my oncologist. She came into the room and she started telling me the prognosis, which was not good, even with chemo. And I had decided at that point that I was not going to have chemo. I thought, I'm not going to put my family through this. It's not going to be pleasant, and I'm probably not even going to make. My prognosis was pretty much a year if I had chemo.
Mm-hmm.
That particular night, sometimes, you get a voice that comes and tells you, you better change your mind. That night, my grandson, Dane, who was 10 and a half at the time, came in with his father to see me. My son did not know how bad I looked. He just thought to go see Nana and see how bad, we're going to see her and just kind of give her some love and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he walked in the room, and children, sometimes you get a guiding force that comes out of a child's mouth. And he says to me, Nana, are you going to die? He hadn't been told anything other than I was sick. Why did he say that to me? And I kind of like looked at him. I thought, well, I'm not going to die, Dane. And he goes, why? Nana? And I go, because I'm going to fight, because I want to make memories with you. Dane, do I love you? Yes, Nana. Do you want to make more memories with me? Yes, Nana. Am I a fighter? Yes, Nana. I want to hold your hand. And he kind of cuddled up next to me. Couldn't get too close. I was had so many things hooked up to me. He changed my mind to go forward. I had a give up attitude, but he changed my mind. And so, spent the 10 days in the hospital, walking the hallways. I learned things. If you'd like to hear this part of the story about recuperating after surgery.
Yeah.
My kind of cancer, they had to basically close my stomach down. I couldn't eat for 5 days. I only could have ice chips, no liquids, nothing. And then they had me walking right away. And I kept saying, well, when do I get to eat? When do I get to have liquids? And they said, well, the first thing you have to do is you have to learn how to fart. Honest to God. and I said, well, I'll keep walking. They said, you walk and walk and walk. Your stomach is going to slowly open. We cannot give you any liquids until you fart. And I remember this vividly. My husband and I were in the doorway of my room, and I said, we were going to start walking. I said, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to fart. And all of a sudden, you could hear it. It echoed through the hallway, and the nurses and 2 doctors stood up and cheered because they knew I was kind of a bad case on the floor. And so, we kept walking, and I got some food, and it was all liquid stuff. And I said, well, when am I get real food? And they said, not until you have a bowel movement. And that was something else, because it literally took, I think they gave me 3 different kinds of laxatives, and it was like a 12-hour thing that all day long I was like running to the bathroom. Nothing was happening. They were measuring everything. I'm going, I don't think I have anything in my system right now. Why would I even have any of that stuff? And eventually that came, and I finally got food. I was so excited. The trouble was the meds for the sepsis poisoning made everything taste like a penny.
Oh, no. It all tasted like copper metally.
Yes, I waited for 8 days to get this food, and it tasted horrible. And only to find out this was going to taste horrible for almost a whole entire month.
Wow.
Because of the meds I had to take there at the hospital and home. But I got through that portion, and the healing process and everything went working. And then the next step was the chemo treatment, which was another lots of stories.
Okay. Yeah. Well, when you did eventually go through chemo, tell me some of the struggles and maybe some of the unexpected highlights of that process. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Anybody who knows me, I live on 3 words, and I actually have them tattooed on my arm. It is knowledge. I want the good and the bad and the ugly. So I took in everything they gave me. I didn't want anything to be held away from me, period. The other thing was my faith was very strong, but I also live a life full of humor. I can get through anything if I can find humor in it. So I'm one of those people, when I started going to chemo, the first thing was the port was put in. I named my port Lady Jane. My best friend died of cancer. She was in heaven, and she had told me if I ever needed her, she'd come back to help me. So that's what I named her, Lady Jane. And so I went to my first chemo, and they start telling me everything's going to happen, possibly all these side effects. I was sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, nothing's really happening. I don't see my hair falling out. I'm not getting sick. What's wrong? I'm thinking it's not working. I go out to the car and my daughter-in-law hands me her glass of cold soda. I almost dropped it. I went, oh my gosh, what's this? My fingers were tingly. I could not touch that cold. It sent pain up my arms. I went, oh, they did mention that. Then I noticed that I got home and I went to drink something and I couldn't swallow it. I thought I couldn't breathe. It hurt. And so I looked at that. Oh yeah, that's right. You can't get around some cold stuff. The neat thing is I am a designer, so I have my own studio within the house, and I had a pump on me, and they also gave me a steroid. It gave me an immediate high. I was up for 42 hours every time I had chemo. But it was great because I worked for 42 hours, and I was just this really happy person. I was just working on my quilts and my dolls, and but I would write about it on Facebook because I thought, okay, I'm going to tell everybody my story. And I would say things silly like this, is that, well, my pump, by the way, was Sir Pump-A-Lot. I said, Sir Pump-A-Lot and Lady Jane are keeping me up all night. They're having sex in my body. I can feel them rocking and rolling. And that's good because it's healing me. And these are the little stories I would just talk about, just kind of uplift myself, but I didn't want people to be sad around me. I wanted them to be happy. And because they're going, oh, poor MonaRae, you shouldn't be feeling like this. You don't deserve this. Well, why not? No, I don't get to pick and choose what I get. And so these were the things that I always would talk about on Facebook. And then more side effects. This is the things we educate on One Cancer Place, is that with each infusion, your side effects will get stronger. I talked about birthing a baby through my rectum, which is really poop, by the way. I thought that was horrible. I talked about my lips swelling up like they were injected with filler, like so many famous movie stars. And then my tongue would swell up so I couldn't talk. And then the eyes would well shut, drippy nose. So these are the things that I experienced. So when I'm talking to somebody else, I can say, yes, that's normal. Because if you don't have anybody to talk to about your journey, you're thinking that you're abnormal. It's like immediately, what's wrong with me? Why am I experiencing this? So it's in many ways what I experienced, I can help somebody else.
Yeah. I've heard that the humor that you bring up is as part of your, core personality is also present in your social media life. Is that the case? Did you write out stories of Lady Jane and Sir Pumps a lot?
Yes. I still have Lady Jane in my chest because I will be having, because they keep waiting for it to come back. But anyway, I wrote about everything. I talked about, oh my gosh, the birthing of my first bowel movement. I even called him Lumpy. And then I would talk about my lips. I don't know if I should even use their names, but I had the Kardashian lips, which actually I thought I looked more beautiful. One of the other stories I talked about was my husband and I traveled to art shows. And when I finally was well enough to travel, which was just something was my passion, I did not want to give it up. We were doing an outdoor show, and there was two ladies that walked up to me and said, MonaRae, wow, I had lost 42 pounds. What program have you been on that you've lost this weight? You look gorgeous. And I said, well, I'm not really sure. It's something I've been working on. I'm really not sure if it's marketable yet. And they said, well, please just tell us. We won't tell anybody. And I said, well, it starts with a C. I'm trying to be creative with it. And okay, I'll tell you, ladies, but you just sort of tell me what you think. And they go, well, please, we want to know everything what you're doing. And I said, it's called cancer. And they look at me and go, oh, come on, that's not even funny. And I said, it is to me. You want to talk about the happy faces go straight. It's like, looked at me and I went, yeah. And they go, how can you joke about it? I said, that's my survival. I can find funny stuff.
Yeah. Tell me about how your family reacted to you sharing these tips online about how to deal with, birthing your first bowel movement or, even recounting these interactions, which you maybe did on your social media as well.
My family, I am so blessed. They love me. They circle around me. They laughed with me. One of the things I've said to my family, I said to all my friends, when you come around me, I don't want to have to support you because you're crying. So when I crack a joke, what you can do is actually laugh with me. And so they would make comments underneath when I would post something on Facebook, and they would say, they would make little jokes underneath. That's my mom. Yep, that's my nana. And I had stories about whenever I took a scan. I have 3 stories about the 3 scans that all of us who go through cancer get. We get CT scans. I call those orgasmic because you get very warm and it goes through your whole body, and it's really nice feeling. The PET scan I always thought was kind of boring because you get injected with radioactive material. You have to sit for 45 minutes before they do the scan, and you have to be peace. You can't watch TV. You can't do anything. They just lower the lights. You sit there till it gets through your whole body. Then you take a 5-minute scan and you go home. I loved MRIs. I got into an MRI, and to me, that was a very expensive massage. Because it, rocks and rolls all the way around you. They played great music. I heard some of the first songs that carried me through my whole cancer journey. My fight song, I heard it in the first time I ever heard the fight song in my MRI.
What's the fight song?
It's, I'm trying to remember the title of it. It's the very first one. I want to say Lauren Daigle. I have it.
The one that this is my fight song. The literal song that
thank
says
you. Well,
that?
I wasn't going to sing that.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
that's it.
Cool.
Yeah. It's a song that a lot of cancer patients use.
Mm-hmm.
And coincidentally, it's another thing. Every time I was going for chemo, we'd get in the car. That song came on every single time, all 12 infusions.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, that is very cool. And I also wanted to go back to something that you were saying earlier, that when you were doing your chemo, you would get you were riding a wave, a high. Can you tell me about 1 or 2 of the items you created in those times of chemo-induced productive mania?
Well, let's see. I made 22 dolls, and I remember specifically one was an Uncle Sam. And I have pictures of me stuffing the bodies, and it was 2:00 in the morning, and I had the TV going. I had to live on a different floor so my husband could sleep. And I would be just in the studio, and I have all these lights on, and I could see the sun coming up and the moon going down as I'm working on the dolls. And I would be humming to myself, and I would just be talking to myself and going, this is great. I'm making these dolls. I'm doing what my passion is for. And then I would go sit down. I could feel my body slowly starting to go down before I had to go. It was right before I had to go back in to have my pump removed. And I would slowly go down, and I would be quilting. And all of a sudden, my fingers would start hurting. And I would look, and they'd be swelling up. When you have chemo, all your symptoms don't just happen immediately. They slowly come on, and it's just one by one, whatever you're going to get. Everybody's journey is a little bit different. So my journey was painful fingers and painful feet and, all the other swollen stuff. But I could tell, okay, I'm starting to come down. My body's coming off behind. And then I would go get my pump removed. And literally my husband would walk me back in the house, put me to bed, and I would sleep 12, 15, 20 hours straight.
Wow.
And he would come in and check on me to see if I was okay, to make sure I was still breathing, and make sure I drank water. You have to drink water.
Yeah. Well, like you said, everybody's journey is different. So in your particular journey, what are some things that you are going to keep with you for the rest of your life after going through this experience that you definitely wouldn't have had, without having survived cancer?
One thing I've always taught my grandchildren is, and I taught my own children, is that when you give love freely, that nobody pushes you to give love to somebody else. In your hour of need, it'll come back to you tenfold. And I always told them that, but I got to experience it. When my dire need, going through my cancer journey, I had hundreds of people circling around me, sending me cards, calling me, texting me. I felt that love. It was so important to me. For me to go through cancer, it taught me that life is short. Enjoy it for the moment. Don't be in a negative world. Positivity will get you through everything, no matter what is being thrown at you. And just a whole lot of love. Just a lot of love. I wish people would understand that more in our whole world right now, because it works. It just works.
Yeah. And for someone who might be getting a cancer diagnosis of their own, what is something that you wish you had known that you can share with them now?
A number doesn't mean anything. You can have a number 4. It doesn't mean you're going to die. It just is just a number.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me what having One Cancer Place as part of your social circle has meant for you on your personal journey and how you are helping others maybe.
Okay. When I went through my journey, I was sitting in the living room watching TV, and I heard a story about a colon cancer patient and how they started an organization. I went to that organization online and kind of, got involved. Yet I still didn't feel fulfilled. And then I was asked to start mentoring if I would mentor other colon cancer patients. So I've done that for a couple of years. And yet I still didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't feel like I had enough knowledge. Erica Hanson Brown and I are friends. And she called me on my birthday to talk to me. And she said, "MonaRae, I'm starting this new organization, One Cancer Place. Would you like to join? I think I have a place for you." I said, "Sure." Well, One Cancer Place is a place where they have live broadcasts where we can go on and we can listen to oncologists. And there's some fantastic doctors out there that educate us. And then Erica started talking about the voices, which I'm a part of right now, obviously. But what's even more important to me, a label that I finally got, a title, it's called CAPA. It's a Kick-Ass Patient Advocate. And what we do is there's a patient that comes on who needs help from beginning to wherever they decide that they don't need help anymore. We circle around, 2-3 of us online, and we are educating. We are helping. We ask them to tell us their story, and we ask them to ask us questions. It is the greatest thing that One Cancer Place is doing out there right now in the cancer world, besides the education. Erica is going way beyond any place I've seen. This is the exciting part, that we're helping a whole lot of people all over the world.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, MonaRae, this has been so amazing to talk with you. This has been very insightful and delightful. One Cancer Place, the newest patient-led community, leads the way in delivering the revolution in cancer care to its growing membership of cancer stakeholders and patients. Find and connect with us online at www.onecancerplace.org.